Oh, the Klingon proverb which tells us revenge is a dish that is best served cold. It is very cold in space. And also in space, no one can hear you scream unless it's Khan!
Wow. Hey,
Wow,
if you're
that was
not
a
awake
good
now, you are now.
You sound just like Bill Shatner, by the way.
There you go.
And
Not
here are
not
three idiots.
for a
And here are three
90-year-old,
idiots
but
that should be shot into outer space. Max Overnighter, Lou Melagrana, and Rich Hurley, also known as Dr. Durant. And if I haven't woken up everybody else in the house with that screaming.
that was fantastic. That's gonna be the best part of the whole podcast. That scream. You make sure.
I think that. I think they could just cut it right to that, and there we are. There we are.
Podcast is over. Thank you.
Yeah.
And you do that at the end,
Thanks
but
for having us.
Hold it for like 10 minutes.
Yeah.
All right. So what are we talking about today, guys?
We are talking about famous monsters. We're actually in famous monsters land this episode, as opposed to StarlogG, and it's Famous Monsters issue 187, and we are discussing the film Wrath of Khan, which is in a way probably one of the Star Trek films with the most horror-like elements in it, I would say, and perhaps that's why it appeared in Famous Monsters. But I think the real reason was back then Famous Monsters was trying to compete with Star Wars, so they figured they had to put a lot of these types of movies into their magazine, branching out from the typical monster fare.
Yeah, I would have to think that the reason it would fit is because I think it's more of a shared fan base than it would be necessarily a monster movie. Because for me personally, when I think of space horror monster movies, Wrath of Khan really doesn't fall into that. I mean, we always talk about how people are monsters because they do monstrous things or whatever, but it's not, to me. I don't think I put it in the realm of like Aliens or Prometheus, or even like 2001 Space Odyssey, with Hal and those. I think those to me would probably be more horror movies than Wrath of Khan or any of the Star Trek movies for that matter.
Yeah, but I think that Wrath of Khan does have that. It's the grittiest and most down to earth of the Star Trek films, I'd say, because they even mentioned it in the article. The first film was really, expanding its boundaries, and there was no real villain that really carried the piece in there. I mean, what was it, like some sort of bizarre entity or cosmic thing, in the first movie, and they sort of went beyond where audiences just lost interest because it was, some say, over their heads because of the sci-fi element of it, or it just wasn't interesting at all. Whereas Khan, they bring it down to earth. And there are a lot of horror elements in Wrath of Khan. I mean, even when you've got them going to City Alpha, is it City Alpha 6 or City Alpha 5? I forget where Khan was.
No, it's 5 or 6. It was both, yeah.
Where he's banished, they're
because they talk. They that is part of the plot, is that
right.
He thinks he's on 5, but he's really on 6. Or right,
because City Alpha 5 blew up, and and so that's why they thought they were there. But you've got that element where Khan is with his sort of tribe of super people, and they're all kind of very Road Warrior like, very kind of primitive in a way. But when Chekhov and I forget Paul Winfield's character's name show up at the base, there's that torture scene where Khan drops the worm into their helmets, which is a very horrific element. It reminds me a lot of actually an episode of Night Gallery, Rod Serling's Night Gallery. That was called. Oh yeah, and there was an episode of that where there was a guy that was falling in love with another guy's wife, and so he wanted to kill this guy. So he got this thing called an earwig, and he if that ever goes inside your head, you'll die a most painful and horrific death. And he goes to drop it in the guy's ear, and somehow it gets in his own ear, and the whole episode it's going through his head, and he's suffering, he's dying. But finally, the ear makes its way through his brain and out the other side, and the guy's alive. And then, of course, comes the twist when a doctor examines him and he goes, well, we got terrible news. He goes, that earwig was female and she laid eggs in your brain.
Oh,
Right.
that's nasty.
Yep.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's nasty. That was a very
Now that would be more. Yeah, I mean that's good, geared more towards that horror suspense kind of thing. Whereas I think that I mean that is a nasty thing. You know, I mean, but
Right.
again, to me, it doesn't necessarily qualify it as. You know, this is a guy. You know, Khan was a guy that was incarcerated basically, and felt unjustly so, or it was unjustly cruel, and he wanted. You know, he didn't. You know, it's not like he got God or something and decided that he wanted to repent, or you know, he was rehabilitated. He wanted revenge. So this
Right.
is a good guy bad guy thing more to me than it was a, you know, than it was a horror.
Right.
I mean, to me, what I would consider horror anyway. It was horrific, maybe, but not.
There was no. Yeah, it wasn't gory or anything. But that
not really monster, you know, or horror.
Oh, that
suspense,
thing
drama, bad guy, good guy. You know.
I think I saw that first on like HBO or something as a kid, or whatever channel they had it on back in the day. And when he put that thing into his ear, man, that just it gives me like goosebumps now thinking about it. It was
right. That was a creepy scene because you see the worm drop on his face, and then there's a close up, and it's like little tongue is licking out, and making its way towards the ear.
Yeah.
Well, then you've got the other scene where they come across the abandoned spaceship in space, and you know, because they've gotten the distress signal and they fly out to go help it because it's Kirk's old flame and his son that I think he does or doesn't know about, but they go aboard the ship. And of course, there's a scene where, you know, you've got a body that pops out in front of Bones, and everybody on the ship has been slaughtered. And they find Chekhov. Like, I think they even have the picture of it in Famous Monsters. And I think you thought Chekhov was dead at first, but he was actually alive. And you know, that had some horror elements to it. And it's directed by Nicholas Meyer, who directed a fantastic movie. I think I might have mentioned it before here, Time After Time, which is a film with Malcolm McDowell playing H.G. Wells, and David Warner plays Jack the Ripper. And they're friends in old London, and H.G. Wells has actually invented the time machine, and David Warner steals it because he's about to get found out that he's Jack the Ripper, and he goes to modern day America, which is 1979 San Francisco, and Malcolm McDowell follows him. And there's tons of horror elements in that. But my dad took me to see that in the theater as a kid, and it's a pretty creepy and pretty violent PG movie. And so that was what he directed before he did Wrath of Khan.
San Francisco. I would have to say, thank God. When you said Time After Time, I thought you were going to start bringing up the Cyndi Lauper song. I'm like, he's not going there, is he? Because that's a horror in itself. That's a horror itself, to be honest with you.
Oh, don't tell me you didn't sit in high school like weeping to that song, Lou Mellinger.
No, don't even get me started. Listen, I listened to what my mother listened to. It was like Kenny Rogers. I think the Gambler was on in my house like 50 times a day. I think I had a poster. My mom went to a concert, brought a Kenny Rogers poster put on the wall. But anyway, that being said, that horrific story. Let's not go there. But no, I mean, I honestly, until you just said that thing about the ear, I actually kind of forgot about that. And then you just said it, and I just, it's creeping me out, man. I really have to say it. There was no CGI involved in that, man. I don't even know if they stuck a rubber thing in his ear and whirled it around or something, but that was pretty nasty.
And you've got a lot of gore in here when people are getting killed. Like, it's not that like the way they get. And I mean, even the original Star Trek series had some horror elements to it. But I mean, this one you've got when people get killed, especially like Khan, you've got like that burn makeup on him, and he's all burned and fried up. And Scotty's nephew, that's played by Ike Eisenman, he gets killed. And I think in the theatrical version you don't see it. But in the TV version, you know, Scotty walks through the doors carrying his dead body, and he's all burned up. And he's like, he never left his post, you know, because everybody else ran away from their post when in engineering when Khan was firing torpedoes at him.
Well, if it would have been Mr. Sulu, he'd have stayed there and blown them all up, just like in Green Beret.
Oh, I love that. Yeah,
you-
the Green Berets, Max. And I remember seeing that as a kid too, being like, that's Sulu from Star Trek.
There you go. Hey, talk about a callback, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, seriously.
Did we talk about that movie before? I think we did, right?
We did when we were
We did
talking
George
about
Takei,
we did the
yeah.
segment on George Takei, yeah.
Oh yeah. Oh my gosh.
Still,
Hey,
as a kid, always made me cry watching the end of that movie where he's looking for Peterson. Peterson. It's the hardest job, General. I don't envy you. And John Wayne goes after him. Hey, Peterson's gone, Ham Chung. Like he's like, kid's name is Ham Chung. Like it's like, oh my god.
Sean.
could you be any more racist than that? I mean,
Yeah.
Jesus.
Well, low chi has been used too many times. They had to do something different, I guess.
That's too funny. Way too funny. Way too funny.
So when was the last time? For me, it has actually been quite a while since I've seen the Wrath of Khan. So
Unless you're
when have
talking
you
about
seen
the
it?
remake, if
I
you
watched
will,
it.
that second Star Trek, it's been a long time for me. Very long time.
Yeah, I bought the box set a couple of Christmases back with that had like the animated series, the Star Trek animated series, the original series, and all the films. I probably watched it then. It's my favorite. I'll always watch it. And
Yeah.
surprisingly, Meyer went on to direct Undiscovered Country, which was the last Star Trek movie, which was actually pretty good too.
That was a good movie. Yeah, I like that.
Yeah. They were all pretty good from this point forward, other than the one that most people don't like after this is the one that Kirk directed, that Shatner directed, Star Trek 5.
I don't remember which one was which. All I remember is Wrath of Khan and the motion picture. That's it. As far as which number they were, I don't remember. And I think I went to the theater to see. Well, I didn't see the motion picture, and I didn't see the Wrath of Khan in the theater, but everything else I think I saw in the theater. Definitely saw.
Yeah, for me, I mean, I think it's kind of weird, I guess, showing my age or whatever. But I mean, for me, I mean, seeing Wrath of Khan when I remember seeing the previews or the commercials for it or whatever, the theatrical trailers that they put on TV to get you to go to the theater. Seeing Ricardo Montalban as Khan, I'm like, hey, that's the guy from Fantasy Island, right? And it seemed like, I mean, that was my and he was
popcorn was only a nickel.
yeah, and he's selling the Chrysler Cordoba, the rich Corinthian leather. I mean, so I thought it was interesting to see him go from that really suave, debonair kind of cool cat character, to a character like Khan. It showed his chops as an actor, I think.
Well, they talk about that in the, I believe it's in this article where they mentioned that
Yep.
he was sort of didn't want to do it because he was known as like you said, the suave Mr. Rourke on Fantasy Island.
Right.
And he's even in the original episode, The Space Seed, he's decked out in this cool red jumpsuit. He's got his man bun. He's very suave and debonair looking.
Mm-hmm.
In this one, he's like this post-apocalyptic road warrior guy. He's just got that open chest shirt. He's got long hair.
My kind of guy.
Yeah, well, he's very gritty and
with the long hair and yeah.
and just the guys that they've got, his crew of misfits there. It's kind of interesting the way that they changed him from that, because they're supposed to be that he was part of the eugenics war, and these were genetically superior beings, which again kind of gives it a little horror element. And I always thought about the Genesis planet having kind of like a Frankenstein quality to it, like that type of thing,
That's the symbol for time, if you can figure out what it is.
Yeah, I knew what it was. I was going to try to figure out a way to.
People are like, why is there a pause? Because Lou's waving his 1 minute finger up. That's why.
Well, that was your finger. Oh, all right. Your finger's been circumcised?
Yeah, it's been circumcised to the full extent of the law.
I thought you were asking us to phone home.
No.
Phone home? No, that's a different movie.
That's a different movie. Actually, it is. It's kind of funny you said how
that's a horror movie.
How he looked on TV when he was on TV versus in the movie. It was a huge change because he was a red jumpsuit, right? And he was quite neat and whatever. Yeah, very interesting. Very interesting. Yeah, no, I saw that movie. I think it was HBO or something. I don't think I went to the theater to see that. I'm pretty sure I didn't. But
Well, and the fact that you see Kirk scared in this,
yeah.
when he's left
Yeah,
on
you
the
never
planet,
see
like
that
he's
in TV show.
abandoned, and that's when he screams like Khan, like he's furious. He's like, I
Oh
can't
yeah.
believe, you've done. He loses his cool,
Right.
Yeah, I think he only did that once on the TV show when they like, I don't know, put something in his head so he was completely
Yeah,
terrified.
that was when he was like split, like he went like
Yeah.
from cowardly Kirk and brave Kirk, like they split his
Yeah.
personalities or something like that. But
Yes.
Yeah,
Wouldn't
didn't
that?
they give him a mustache there too for a while?
Oh my God. Well, anything else you guys want to wrap up with in our point counterpoint, horror versus non-horror?
I mean, I think I think Max is essentially right. I wouldn't go if I was looking for horror. I wouldn't go to see Wrath of Khan. But if I wanted some good sci-fi, some cool Star Trek with a little seasoning of horror in it, then Wrath of Khan is definitely the best of that bunch that you're gonna go
Yeah.
watch.
So you're saying if you wanted to see something like the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, the Wrath of Khan wouldn't quite be in that category? Is that what you're saying?
Not quite, although it would be kind of cool to see what Toby Hooper would have done with a Star Trek film.
That would have been interesting. Yeah, well, we can go into that a whole nother section. We do that. We'll see if they want us to come back and talk about that sometime. But other than that, any other last opinions or comments or anything like that before we sign off?
Well, I think we've
I think
prepared
we
this
pretty much
crowd
covered
for
it.
Warp 10 excitement.
I need Warp 11. I can't hold
Warp
it any
11.
longer. Okay. All right. Well, so let's sign off before Nayron and Kavora kill us for going over time and something like that. Or
Yeah, we
anything.
like to keep coming back because it's fun to get to sit down with you guys and chat about whatever it is that we're chatting about. So,
And for those of you who don't know, Max is really only 32 years old. He just pretends like he's older so that he can throw some experience into the discussion. He's really only 32. As a matter of fact, he probably never saw Wrath of Khan because he was too young. So we'll just say that.
yeah, my mom wouldn't let me. She wouldn't take me because I was too little.
Well, somewhere in the darkest reaches of the universe, a battle is about to begin. But we won't be part of it because we're signing off. I'm Rich Hurley, also known as Dr. Durant. You can find me on YouTube at Dr. Durant Sanctum, where I discuss all things horror, vintage costumes, movies, toys, what have you. Come on in and have a good time.
Maximus, do you want to go? Oh, you want me to go?
I'm Max Overnighter, and I don't have a podcast, so I listen to everybody else's, and I don't have a YouTube channel, so I watch everybody else's. But you'll find me lurking around on Meagle Like. Sometimes you'll find me on the My Meagle Like group nonsense that we do. Sometimes I'm lurking around the mid-modern stuff and Batman stuff. So hey, if you see me out there, just stop by, say hey.
Max is the #1 Batman collector in the world, just in case anybody knows.
Max is
Not
known
really.
to the
He actually
Paloma,
owns Adam
Wisconsin
West's
Police
head.
Department. Max is known to the Paloma, Wisconsin Police Department as he who lurks.
Did you
That's
know
right.
he actually has Adam West's head in his basement? So I'm Lou
I
Malagrana.
think it was the Adam West a head thing on say.
Oh my God, they're gonna kill me for laughing so much. So I'm Lou Malagrana. We have a wonderful Facebook group called Meagle Like. I have a YouTube channel called My Meagle Like, and we have a website mymeaglelike.com. And it's the funny thing is it has the word Mego in it. We're pretty much everything except just a tiny splash of Mego with everything else. So on that, I think we're gonna sign off. I guess we're gonna say goodbye, gentlemen. As always, it's always a pleasure. The pleasure's all on this side of the table over here, if you will. And all right, let's sign off.
Live long and prosper.